Hello and welcome to another edition of the Second String, your best source for college football news on the campus of UNL. I'm your host, Nate Muehlbach. Joining me today is Alex Fernando.
Oh, you don't have a fun name today, Nate?
No, we're all business.
All business today.
All business.
Well, I got a quick name for you. How about we go Nate the Birthday Boy Muehlbach?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Nate joining T Swift and joining the 22 Club yesterday.
It feels exactly the same as 2 days ago.
Oh, stop it. Happy birthday, Nate.
Thank
Live
you.
on air just for you.
Thank you, Alex. I really do appreciate it. Well, we're here with some great college football news. It was actually an excellent week if you weren't a Nebraska fan.
Yes, it was.
But for a Nebraska fan, it wasn't great. We'll have all that. We'll have recaps for some of the great games. We'll have recaps for the bad Nebraska game. And some playoff speculation for next week. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show. I got something with class at around 8, so we're going to cut it off just a little bit shorter. So without further ado, we should just hop straight into the football. Alex, what games we got?
Well, we got to start with Bedlam. Bedlam, Nate. Oh, my God. Insanity, chaos, madness, whatever you want to call it. It's Bedlam.
Oklahoma winning again.
Yes, Oklahoma wins again. So sorry to your pokes, but just an insane game. 113 combined points, almost 1,450 total yards. This one was a barn burner.
It was kind of absurd. I wasn't expecting this level of offensive shootout. I mean, I know Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's defense weren't both the greatest, but I wasn't expecting this level of just torched. It was insane. Baker Mayfield, 500, almost 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Is it too early to say Heisman?
I don't know. He's always been incredible in the month of November, and to come out with a performance like this to start off November, and he's still got a few games left. Playing the way he has been this season, I don't see why he couldn't win the Heisman.
Yeah, I do think he's good enough to win the Heisman. I think this is his Heisman moment. He goes in, beats a ranked team, a very highly ranked team by a lot, has some great stats about, almost, like I said, 600 yards. You don't see that ever.
Oh, no.
Look at his...
not a normal stat line you go with, but it's not just... To me, it's not just this game that he's done it. He's been doing it his whole career. Apart from a few bad games here and there, but, even in those, losses, he's usually still pretty top-notch at quarterback.
You suppose you think of the Texas Tech game last year, another game where he threw for 500-plus yards and, 6 touchdowns. You think of the Ohio State game this year. He's just been slinging it, and it looks like some of the other Heisman contenders just kind of falling off,
Saquon Barkley, Bryce Love. Yeah, everybody's kind of dropping off later in the season.
He seems to be ramping it up, and late in the season, that's when you need to make your impression, and he's really doing that. And for Oklahoma State, Mason Rudolph played a really good game as well. 440, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It was just a quarterback duel, and unfortunately, Oklahoma State just had the slightly worse defense.
Yeah, when you get these two quarterbacks on the field, you're going to get yards, you're going to get points, no matter what defense you're playing against. So I wasn't totally shocked by the big shootout, but, you just kind of said it. Oklahoma State couldn't quite make enough stops. Slowing down Baker Mayfield is nearly impossible. And in the end, Oklahoma got the win, but Oklahoma State, they didn't flop as much as I expected them to. Usually when you get to Bedlam, Oklahoma State, I'm sorry to say it, Nate, but they just don't show up to this game.
It's been a problem for them the last 80 years.
Yeah, it's been a problem for a while. They have those upsets every once in a while, and those
Oklahoma has that
games.
83-18 lead in the series, I think.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
But I think they played well. Oklahoma State, they're still a good team. They're still probably going to win 10 games this year. Oklahoma positions themselves really nicely for the playoffs. I think they're one of the best teams in the country.
Both teams still have a shot at the Big 12, though, which is
they do.
Insane.
TCU still has to play. Actually, Oklahoma State doesn't really have that big of a shot because they need Oklahoma to lose twice.
Yeah.
And TCU
but
to lose again.
They would have to have TCU lose again, but Oklahoma has to play TCU still.
Yes.
And Oklahoma State still has a game against Iowa State, so they could get a notch up on them. And Iowa State has a win over both Oklahoma and TCU.
It'll be a tough task for the Sooners to really show up and prove their mettle in the Big 12. But I mean, they're still a good team, and I don't think that Justice Hill had 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a player that seems to have really found his stride.
Now, yeah, you're not wrong, but I'm just saying, is this game more of a statement about how dynamic these offenses are, or also how lackluster this Big 12 typical defense kind of is for these two teams?
I mean, I think it's a little of both. The defense isn't good, but Oklahoma State is, let me remind you, is the number 1 rated offense in the nation.
Very true. And they looked like it this past weekend.
They're hard to stop. They're hard to get a handle on, and Oklahoma just doesn't have the defensive players to punish them. And while that might come back and haunt Oklahoma against maybe like a Georgia or an Alabama or a Clemson, against some of the teams left in the Big 12, I don't think it's going to hurt them. TCU, in my opinion, does not have the offensive weapons to really punish a bad defense.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State, I don't think, has the weapons to punish a bad defense. Even though they've already beaten Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, if they end up having a rematch, I don't know if Iowa State wins that 2 times.
Exactly. Well,
you never want to play a team twice in a season, and with the new Big 12 championship, you're going to have to do that. So it's going to be, in my opinion, that's a bonus for the loser of that first meeting. And Oklahoma now in the driver's seat for just cruising to the Big 12 championship, cruising to win that, and possibly a playoff spot. Oklahoma State, again, needs some help to get back into the Big 12 championship. Probably knocked out of the playoffs now.
Probably.
I don't know if we're going to get that 2-loss team in the playoffs anytime soon.
I don't think so. There's still 9 teams in the running for the playoff. But move on. Let's go to our next game. This is number 6, Ohio State getting walloped by Iowa, 55-24. I don't get it.
Since when can Iowa score 55 points?
I mean, they beat us. They scored 40 on us last year.
40 on us is nothing compared to 55 on Ohio State.
I don't get it. I don't. Why?
Where did this come from? I mean, I have a lot of people saying it's the blackout uniforms. There's a petition going around to keep the blackout uniforms because it's the
look good. They look good.
They look pretty good. Yeah, I mean, they worked well for Iowa apparently. But wow, this game, I mean, sadly, it was during the Nebraska game, so we didn't get to watch a lot of it. I've just seen highlights throughout the week and kind of going back and watching it. But I kept checking my phone during our game for the updates, and I just see Iowa's hanging, it's tied at 17. I'm like, okay, I was hanging with them. Oh, Iowa's up 7. I was up 14. I was up 55-24. What?
I think this comes down to 2 things. One, I think Iowa is just, they found its stride. Nathan Stanley, who I've been riding on all season long as a mediocre quarterback, seems to have found his stride. 226 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Well, that kind of works for Iowa. They're used to those mediocre quarterbacks. I mean, C.J. Beathard,
Jake Rudock.
Yeah, they're not big-name guys. They're not guys that are going to pass for 350 on you and 4 TDs. But they make the smart throws.
Akram Wadley is an amazing running back.
For sure.
He's a guy that gets lost in the shuffle a lot of the stable of Big Ten. Amazing running backs sometimes, but he is
118 yards. I mean,
yeah.
A week ago, Saquon Barkley, who was a Heisman candidate, had 40 against Ohio State's defense.
I mean, some of their receivers.
Wadley had 118.
Yeah, some of their receivers are good. Noah Fant, we got on him for such a. There's a guy that Nebraska, you can't let. Regrets that we let him get away.
Yeah, I don't know. Iowa really just played out of their minds.
Joshua Jackson, 3 interceptions.
And the one Odell Beckham kind of interception. Unreal.
It reminded me of the Desmond King interception against Michigan a few year ago.
Yep.
And I had thoughts that this might be a Michigan game, but 55 points, but that goes back to my second point, which is that Iowa State, they got sloppy. They beat Penn State. They said, oh, hey, we're fast-tracked to the playoffs now. Our schedule's bad the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. We don't play any good teams. Michigan's pretty bad, in my opinion.
Michigan State, I mean,
Michigan State's okay, but they just lost to Northwestern. They said, we got this. This is easy. We're going to march to the Big Ten title, go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then they just roll into Kinnick, which is a hard place to play.
Oh, you never want to play at Kinnick, especially in November. That's just not a good stadium to visit.
Are both of us going to have to apologize about JT Barrett again?
You have to apologize about JT Barrett. I have been talking about how his inaccuracies are going to help Ohio State lose games.
But
they're going to lose them games.
He's been playing pretty good, just not.
He has been, and I apologized last week because he looked much more impressive. He completed 16 passes in a row last week, so he was supposed to be on fire. He comes into this game, he drops 18 of 34, so like barely over 50%. 208. He had the 3 touchdowns with 4 picks, 3 of them to the same guy.
I don't get it. Sorry, Alex. JT Barrett he's good, but maybe he's not that good.
That's right. Not the most accurate passer. Got it done on the ground, though, 63. I mean, overall, Ohio State's offense...
J.K. Dobbins, just not very effective. Mike Weber.
Yeah, the run game was not there. If JT Barrett's leading your rushing attack in this stage in his career, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa has some good D linemen. Josie Jewell, and they have Nation Bajada, who's another local guy who should not have gone to Iowa, who should be a Husker. That guy was a beast in 8-man football.
I don't know. I mean, like we've talked about Iowa before, and it's the consistency.
They're very inconsistent.
I mean, you never know what to expect with this team.
The good old Kirk Ferentz way.
Yeah, but if they do show up to a game, they're not going to make any mistakes.
They're well coached when they want to be.
That's a good way to put it. I was shocked by this game. I did not see this upset coming in any way, shape, or form, honestly. Again, Kinnick's a tough place to play, especially in November.
55-24.
Yeah, again, if I was going to win this game, it was going to be like the last-second field goal against Michigan kind of game.
Yeah.
Dropping 55 on the Buckeyes, that's unreal.
So, yeah, it was a great upset. And speaking of upsets,
oh my gosh,
we got the new upset, the second upset in the Big Ten. Penn State versus Michigan State. Spartans take it 27-24. It violates. We should add the 3 rules. Don't fight a land war in Asia. I forgot what the second was. It's been a long time since I watched The Princess Bride. But the third one is don't play Michigan State in a rainstorm.
That I can agree with that.
Mark D'Antonio will drag you into the mud and beat you at your own game.
My goodness, I expected Penn State to bounce back.
I did too.
I expected them to feed Barkley, just get him some carries, get him working.
Especially in the rain too.
Oh yeah, you can't throw the ball all over the place in the rain. They still tried to. They ended up with 381 pass yards mixed with Sorley.
Yeah, but he threw 3 interceptions.
He had 3 picks. Lewarke though, 400 yards on 33 of 56, 2 touchdowns. He's had a pick. Incredible game from him.
I know. They threw it 56 times. That's Nebraska at Purdue numbers.
Oh, God, stop it. Don't do that to me.
But yes, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. It's just... And they didn't run the ball very much either.
They didn't, no.
They only had about 60, 70 yards rushing.
Yeah, L.J. Scott only had 43. And you wouldn't think, again, in a rainstorm, that's not an ideal passing situation, especially for a team like Michigan State, who's built on the run, then go into that play action pass, has a rushing quarterback with Lewarke. I don't know. I was, again, very shocked by this game. I thought Penn State would kind of bounce back. Michigan State, a very tough defense, coming off the triple overtime loss to Northwestern.
Yeah,
so
they're a tough team.
Motivated team for sure.
They're a good team, but it's just another thing where you see Penn State and you see the loss and you go, oh, they're going to kill Michigan State. This is a motivated Penn State team.
Yep.
Just lost badly in a game they shouldn't have lost. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a killing, and Mark D'Antonio setting up. They
control their own destiny to win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If they beat Ohio State this week, their remaining 2 games are Maryland and Rutgers.
Yeah.
They're in the Big Ten championship if they beat Ohio State.
Yes, they should be.
And I do want to mention one thing. Best thing I saw all weekend was James Franklin sprinting down the field to his tunnel, grabbing his players that had walked off the field and telling them to go back and shake Michigan State's hand. I don't know if you caught that video, but there was a couple of Penn State players upset with the loss. Understandable, but they were going right to the locker room, didn't want to shake players' hands, and James Franklin sprints down to the tunnel, grabs them, points them back to the midfield, and says, "You go shake their hand."
I'm not a big Penn State fan for reasons you probably don't have to think too hard about.
As a program, definitely not, but
I do like James Franklin. I think he does things the right way, and I think he's a good coach. And
he's definitely the reason why they've turned around so quickly, in my opinion.
And he'll definitely be a good one to watch. But Mark D'Antonio, also a great coach.
Never underestimate D'Antonio. I mean, He doesn't smile, but he knows what's going on out there. Honestly, he's like the Bill Belichick of college football. You know he's gonna win. You know he's gonna win games.
He's like good Kirk Ferentz, where it's like he's not competitive every year, mostly because of the type of school Michigan State is.
Yeah, and just cycling through players. Yep.
But the years he's good, he's always got him playing fundamental football, and there'll be a team to watch them versus Ohio State. It's the de facto Big East title game.
Yeah,
not Big East, Big Ten East title game.
This is going to be an interesting team to watch.
And speaking of divisional title games,
we had a semifinal for the ACC. I mean, 2 semifinals basically: Virginia Tech and Miami, Clemson and North Carolina State for the Coastal and the Atlantic divisions. Hokies fall short, 28-10 on the road against Miami.
Miami, impressive.
Very impressive. Rozier, 3 interceptions too. I was watching this, and the Hokies defense very tough.
Yes.
Always a formidable team to face. But they came away with 3 picks on Rozier, who's usually very careful with the ball. He was under 50% passing, and the Hurricanes still come away with a 3-score win.
I mean, like I said, this is 2 things. Credit to Miami defense. They played really well.
That turnover chain.
I saw the story. It's like diamond encrusted. It's like sapphire encrusted.
It's the most Miami-esque item you could ever think of brought in for football.
Part of me wants to just throw it in the garbage, but part of me says, yeah, I'd probably want to wear that. If
it motivates your boys, you get that chain.
I'd want to wear the chain. I'm not scared to admit it.
Well, they put that chain to good use. They picked off Josh Jackson a couple times. Pretty sure they caused a fumble in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was Josh Jackson lost a fumble.
Yep.
He fumbled twice, but he lost one. And the other option was just Josh Jackson, true freshman, made some freshman mistakes.
He's a young kid.
He's young.
He's younger than us.
Yeah.
Definitely younger than you. Kind of turned 22.
Don't remind me. I'm old. I'm old for young people.
But no, you're right. I mean, Josh Jackson, a lot of room to grow. Still, an okay performance on the road. He's going to develop in the system. With Justin Fuente, he's going to be a great quarterback.
Yes. But Miami, Mark Richt, they're not. He hasn't lost control of the program yet.
He hasn't lost control of the program. He hasn't lost a game either.
No.
Miami's looking very, very impressive.
What about Clemson, NC State?
NC State.
Clemson looks much better with Kelly Bryant.
Much better.
That's all I'm going to say.
NC State put up a fight. Clemson had to come back.
Yeah, they're a good team. NC State
kind of hang with them all game. Clemson just kind of wore them out at the end.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's their defense. Kelly Bryant kind of dinks and dunks around the field.
Yep.
It's just what their game plan should be, and they're just a very solid team at all phases of the game.
Oh, for
offense,
sure.
defense, special teams. They're not as good at special teams as they were last year, which is one of the reasons why they're not going to win the title game. Also, no Deshaun Watson, but
probably won't. They're not going to be the Clemson titles anymore.
No, that's still my least favorite thing I've ever said on this show.
Oh my gosh!
And I've said a lot of dumb stuff on this show.
But no, you're right. I think Clemson, again, not as strong as the year before, but still a very solid team. And again, setting up a solid, really interesting ACC title game, possibly playoff, like a play-in playoff game with Miami and Clemson.
We'll see. Miami still has to play Notre Dame, which is another playoff semifinal.
Catholics and the convicts.
Maybe not anymore, but
not quite. But it's still got that vibe.
It's a catchy nickname. That's for sure.
Well, that'll be one of the preview games we got coming up. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute here on the Second String. All right, we don't have any commercial breaks today, so
yeah. For some reason, the
system's down.
The system is down, so I cannot access.
Well,
this.
Hey, that's okay with me. We're just going to talk more football then.
I suppose.
The bad part is that we're at the really not so good part of the show. Nebraska and Northwestern, Nate. You actually attended this game. You made an appearance.
I did somehow.
Why? How'd that work out for you?
Well, there was a volleyball game right afterwards.
That definitely made it much better.
So to alleviate game time traffic, they just let every one of the volleyball crew onto the football list, so we could all congregate together and walk to the game right afterwards, just to avoid large amounts of traffic that usually comes after the game.
That's smart. Well, you got to witness the overtime thriller, or
Quote marks around thriller.
Thriller for Northwestern.
Yes.
Third straight overtime win for the Wildcats as they take down our Huskers, 31-24.
Reminds me of that year where they won like a bunch of fourth quarter comebacks.
Oh yeah, the Cardiac Cats. Oh yeah. Well, let's start. Just knock out all the bad stuff. I want to definitely comment on Northwestern. Let's talk about them quick. Northwestern played a great game.
They did.
Very solid team.
In some aspects.
Not a fantastic. Thorson looked god awful in this one.
He looked bad.
And
I kept telling some of our friends I was sitting by. I was like, he should be a good quarterback. I don't know why.
Should be. And he's usually so much better against Nebraska too.
Mm-hmm.
He continued his tradition of running in another touchdown against us, despite being the most pocket passer quarterback you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
So I'm glad Nebraska could keep that tradition for him. But no, offensively, the Wildcats just racked up tons and tons of yardage, and eventually that just kind of led to touchdowns with some shoddy tackling, as we've seen before, and dumb penalties, leaving drives open. I don't know. But their defense is what always gets me, because we had the pick 6, so you can take off 7, only 17 points allowed, and they don't give up much on defense. They're a very, very good tackling team. They slow down everybody. Ozigbo only had 72 yards on 23 carries. They slowed down our. Not that our run game is hard to slow down, but I don't know. I always like to give credit to Northwestern. A lot of people overlook them.
They have a very solid team with a very solid coach, and they play very solid football at all stages of the game. Usually,
until the last couple of minutes. The end. I'm glad it didn't happen, but Northwestern should have been up by 10 at halftime.
Yes.
Poor clock management by Pat Fitzgerald, and he
Bizarre.
tends to do that. We saw that a couple weeks ago with the Iowa game. Could have marched down the field and at least tried for the field goal before overtime. Doesn't do it. He gets a pick on Nebraska's 40 with 2 timeouts and 40 seconds left. He runs an option for 8 plays, and then he sits on it and lets 20 seconds roll off the clock, runs an incomplete pass, runs it to the middle, takes a timeout, and kicks a field goal.
I don't get it.
Kicks a field goal that was missed.
Yes.
I don't understand why you don't try it for the end zone, especially with the way our coverage had been going throughout the game. But anyways, let's get to our good, expected, and bad. Nate, we were talking before the show. There wasn't a whole lot of good we could find.
Can I say Marcus Newby? I thought he played well.
Yeah.
I rag on Marcus Newby a lot.
Yeah,
a lot when we watch the games at your house, but today he really played well. 10 tackles, 8 solos. There was one where he stood up Justin Jackson on a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, came around the edge and just lit up Jackson and play of the game, honestly, for Nebraska.
Yeah, it was his pick 6. It was a terrible pass by Thorson.
Yeah,
but,
well overthrown on his receiver, but Newby,
he was in position and he ran it all the way back, avoided the tacklers, and got it in the end zone. He played a fantastic game, and some of the other linebackers were nice. Dedrick Young had a quiet 9-tackle game. Chris Webber, who's on the what's the linebacking award for college football?
Butkus Award.
Yeah, he's on the semifinals list for it. Yes,
good. He's played well this season. Our defense doesn't necessarily show that, and our team overall doesn't show that, but he's in almost every tackle. He's around the ball, and he's one of the few guys on our team who I trust to make a tackle if he's near the guy.
Yes. And Ben Stilley, who didn't have a great game, but I thought he played fine.
Got some pressure. He was about the only guy to get pressure on our team.
Got a sack that was overturned by penalty, but it was still a sack in my opinion. I don't actually think we didn't get a sack. No, we didn't.
Nope, not officially. We know what our bad is. We'll get there, but my good was probably, again, J.D. Spielman, always consistent.
He's the only player in our offense that really puts fear into an opposing team.
And he just really looks like he's trying to fight for every yard.
Yes.
There's some other guys in the offense, when they have the ball, they'll get what they can, but they won't fight for every yard.
There's some guys that I like. Mostly my 2 favorite offensive players are Spielman and Tyjon Lindsey, who
all our young guys.
I think they put 100% effort. I wish Tyjon would get the ball more. I really do. I mean, I know why.
He was on the field a little bit more.
Yes.
Fantastic blocker.
For a guy his size, for anyone who doesn't know, he's only 5'11".
He's 5'9".
5'9".
He's a couple inches taller than me. I played pickup with him this summer. He's just a couple inches taller than me.
Wow, I'm 3 inches taller than him.
Yeah,
that's bizarre.
He's not a big dude.
I thought he was 5'11", but
no,
dang.
5'9", 5'10" at most, I think.
Okay,
yeah, he's a short dude, but he puts everything into it. I mean, his blocking
for a guy his size.
And for a true freshman to come out there and play conference ball and go after some of those corners.
Like I said, I get why he isn't on the field more, mostly because of his size, and probably because he hasn't put on enough muscle at the college level to really be durable for that amount of play calling at his size.
That's fair.
Yet, but I still wish he would play more. I think he's pretty good.
Well, he has gotten more reps in the game over the last few weeks, so I think it's coming.
Yeah.
Moving on, the expected. We didn't really have much.
The outcome.
The outcome, yeah. I expected the poor play calling in a number of situations. Trying to run that bubble screen with Stanley Morgan as the lead blocker.
The expected and the bad are just gonna be a long blob.
They kind of bled. Yeah, they bled together way too much nowadays. But no, I mean, we were talking about this. I came over at halftime and sat down and talked with you guys. Every run play, we expected exactly where the ball was going. We could predict that before the snap happened.
Okay, so we have 2 run plays. So here are our 2 run plays. We have our reverse. Oh, no, we have 3. We have our reverse to either Spielman or Tyjon Lindsey. That's literally it. Or we have the fake the reverse, give it to the running back up the middle. Or we have the little B-gap power run where the receiver and the tight ends shift over the formation, and you just hand it and you run a Zigbo up
from the
B-gap.
Shotgun.
Yeah, from the shotgun.
Yep.
That's literally it. The McNitt and either Ketter or Hoppus, the tight end, shifts over in the formation.
Yep.
The receiver, if it's either Morgan or DPE, comes in and they block out and they just hand it to a Zigbo who runs straight forward.
Yep.
That's the only running play. We ran that about 5 times in a row once, and I was just I couldn't believe it. And there's
no creativity with the offensive run game overall, with the offensive play calling in general, because like you mentioned, it'll be that little shotgun hand up a B gap with the motion with the tight ends, and then we'll do our bubble screen and lose 2 yards, if not a pick six.
It should have been a pick six.
It should have been a pick six because, again, Stanley Morgan, our lead blocker on that play, does not know how to block it. Just doesn't even get in front of his guy most of the time. And then our deep ball. Those are our 3 main offensive plays.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. We need something new. We need a lot of new, actually.
I don't mean to be so negative, but it's just such a drag of an offensive repertoire.
Oh, I know.
There's one point of the game, and I told you this at halftime also. They brought in the receiver into block, and they had a Zigbo out to the right, and they didn't motion the fullback or the tight end. And I said, "Oh, we're doing a run play, but it's going to be a power toss to the right."
Yeah,
and it was exactly a power toss to the right, and I figured that out 5 seconds before the snap.
Yeah, you could see it light up.
And I haven't played football in 4 years, or really even studied.
And you're
play
sitting
calling.
in the second row with the fans, if
I can figure that out, the players on the field certainly can figure that out.
Oh, for sure.
And the coaches,
and that's with not even watching film and prior to, you could just see it set up. You're like, oh, these guys are gonna go here. Nick Gates is probably gonna miss that block, and then
as it usually turns out,
and then Zigbo's gonna get lit up for a 3-yard loss.
And it's our O-line too. Just they're bad. There's nothing more to say about it.
Injuries have not helped.
No.
And we have a lot of young guys playing. But regardless of who's out there, I don't see any idea of what they really understand and what they don't understand. They just seem like a big mess. There's a lot of miscommunication. There's so many missed blocks. Hymus on the overtime, he had a running back come to chip, and he blocked him to the wrong side. He had a running back come and chip to help block on the inside of him, and Hymas pushed him to the outside. Either they wanted Hymas one-on-one with the defensive end, which I doubt, or he was supposed to block him to the inside and with his help.
Yeah.
And then the guy got around because there was no help, and Hymas took way too. Hymas stayed inside but pushed him outside. So I don't know if he was expecting the running back to come over there, but this isn't. This is on our possession in overtime. This is our second play. Tanner Lee's rolling out, and he gets sacked for an 8-yard loss.
It's drive killers, and it's the third interception too.
Oh my gosh.
Don't remember who missed the block. I'm assuming it's Conrad. It was one of the inside guys, I'm pretty sure. It was
I think it was Conrad on that one. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was Conrad, and he just hit Lee, and Lee threw a duck because he got smacked while he threw it. And
to be fair, Lee should have had a number of other interceptions.
Yes.
But again, I mean, his line's not helping him throw accurate balls.
No, it's the whole crew too. It's guys who I have no faith in, like Cole Conrad. It's young guys like Brennan Hymas or Matt Farniok who have excuses but are still frustrating. Mm-hmm. And it's guys who should be good but frustrate me, like Gerald Foster
and
or
Nick
Gates.
Yeah, I mean,
people who this is their second or third year in the system who should be progressing. Nick Gates was third team All Big Ten as a freshman.
He was a player that you could expect a conference level, like an all conference level game out of any week, and he's fallen off dramatically. And
is it coaching?
I don't know. It seems like it could be, but also, I mean, we don't. I feel like we have talent there. That's the thing is, I feel like we have talent. So then it leads me to think it's got to be coaching, because I haven't seen much improve. I've seen all steady, a steady decline in the recent years since Riley took over and Cav took over. And honestly, after this loss, I don't see this staff sticking around much longer.
I couldn't fault you for having that opinion. We'll wait and see. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot of things left. And, I mean, technically we could still make a bowl game if you want to believe that we'll beat Minnesota and either Penn State or Iowa. But with the way that we're losing these games and the way that we're just executing or lack of execution on the field, overall, Nebraska just looks pathetic.
We don't look like a good team.
No, not at all. No team would. I mean, we've lost 2 out of 4 or 2 out of 6, 4 out of 6 at home. We're 2-4 at home, and that includes losses to Northern Illinois, Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern's always a tough team.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're a good team, but we had chances to win this game.
Yes.
We had chances to win the Wisconsin game.
We should have won this game.
Yeah, we had chances to win the Wisconsin game. We had so many chances to win the Northwestern or Northern Illinois game.
Yeah, we had chances to win the Oregon game.
Yeah. So why aren't we taking those chances? Why aren't we capitalizing on those chances? And also, I just don't see the effort from the entire team.
I don't either. It frustrates me, and it goes back to defense, and we've been really bad on injuries this year too, which doesn't help. We've been really bad on scheme in a scheme-wise sense. I'm not a big fan of Langsdorff and how he calls the game. Diaco, who I'm actually a much bigger fan of. He had the whole press conference after the game where he basically said, "Don't blame me for this one," and I don't. I think all things considered, Diaco has the defense playing fairly well for where I think the talent level that we have is.
Yeah, I think talent-wise, they're not used to that system. It's tough to bring it into. I'm not entirely sold on it yet. I see where we want to go.
That's fair.
But I just don't know if we can get there with this group of guys, and it's going to be. You're not going to last 4 years if you have seasons like this.
No.
To bring in the guys that you want. For
this is a second time. This is a second time in 3 years.
We've had 4 losing seasons since 1962.
And this is 2 of them.
This is 2 of them under Riley. The other 2 were Callahan. He lasted 4 years.
I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Yeah. I don't make the decision. You don't make the decision.
No, and I personally, I don't think 3 years is enough for a coach to build the program and build the culture that he wants. I'm just looking at this, though, and I'm not sure that this is the culture that we need to end up with to be Nebraska.
I'm not sure either. It'll be tough to see. Can we talk about Tanner for a little bit?
Oh gosh, I don't want to, but I mean,
just a minute.
yeah, no, not good. Not a good game for Tanner. He'd been showing improvement.
I think he still has improvement, and it just stinks because I think at this point I've just kind of switched to feeling bad. I feel a bit bad for him because he didn't bring this on himself. I feel like this is mostly the fault. I mean, his play is his own fault, but it's so much worse because of the way the fan base has treated him over the last year.
That's fair. I mean, he was set up for failure.
Yeah.
You put him as high as he could possibly go. People had him on their preseason quarterback of the year list or the Danny O'Brien award and Heisman even, just way kind of out there. But still, you put him on as one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. You haven't seen him take a snap yet. So you're expecting him to be one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, and one, with the offensive line he has, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Two, with the play calling he has, that's not going to happen. Langsdorf does not set him up very well.
No, and he has many issues that are his own fault. He locks onto his receivers way too much.
We were talking about this at halftime too. I mean, every time he took a snap, you knew he was looking exactly right to the sideline on a specific play. Every formation that he lined up, you knew exactly what receiver he was going to.
I remember being stunned when at some point in the second half he executed a read, and I said
he turned his head.
Yeah, he turned his head, and I said, "Holy cow!" And he completed the pass too. He threw it to, I think, Stoll for a medium gain, and I said, "Wow, he actually executed his reads there, and we made a good play."
He can do it. So again, that leads me to believe he's an experienced quarterback.
Yeah.
We brought him in because he could make these reads and he could go through his progressions and stuff. Watching his old film at Tulane, he was younger then. He didn't make quite as many reads, and he wasn't the best, most accurate passer there either. But you could tell he looked through his receivers and his progressions. He hasn't done that here, and that leads me to believe there's issues within the system. There's things that he doesn't understand or he's not figuring out in the system, and that goes back to Langsdorf and Riley.
Yes. I do too. It'll be tough to see what the postseason will bring for the coaching staff. I don't know if changes are necessary or if Bill Moose wants to make the changes, but it's getting down to the wire for the coaching staff, I will say.
Yeah, this is a tough one to come back from, losing at home again to Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern, again, very good team, but to have all those chances to win and take over the game, again, even on the final drive, we get to our 40-yard line. You need another 8 to 10 yards to give Drew Brown a chance. A shot. Yeah, just to get him a shot. And we bomb it deep. We run up the middle for 0, and we throw an incomplete pass. And the incomplete pass was on a route that was going to go 4 yards and get tackled.
Yes, it was frustrating, and I fail to see how that's going to be improved. Now, before we get into the playoff picture, we will talk for 30 seconds about Minnesota because me and you are very burnt out about talking about the Huskers.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, let's.
Let's just do the final score. What do you think the score is going to be today for Minnesota game?
I don't know. I mean, Minnesota's coming off a tough loss with Michigan. They gave up over 300 on the ground.
I think we can win.
Oh, this is easily our most winnable game of the last 3.
Yes.
And we seem to play slightly better on the road. I mean, overall, we've won more of our road games than we have at home. Or I guess it's even. We have 4-2-2, but we played better on the road, in my opinion. And so I think just having, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, we'll have to.
Minnesota's going to run the ball. PJ Fleck's got a balanced offense. They average. I mean, they don't do much, but they average about 150 passing, 180 or 170 rushing. So not a lot of yards, but they can move the ball, especially against our defense, who just decides not to cover anybody.
Yes, I will predict Minnesota 28, Nebraska 21.
I'll take the Huskers. I'm going to go 24 because that seems to be our point limit nowadays, and Minnesota 18.
I wouldn't be surprised with that either. It'll be a tough one.
Close game.
But I want the chair. I want the chair back.
Oh yeah, we gotta get the broken chair. Oh, best trophy in the history of the world.
All right, let's talk about the college football playoff for a little bit. So the new rankings came out today, and they look very similar to the last rankings. Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, Notre Dame number 3, Clemson number 4. So, but instead of talking about their rankings, let's do a little playoff speculation of our own for the last 10 minutes.
I have a statement.
Okay, all right, give me the statement.
I'm calling it right now. There will be no Big Ten team in the college football playoff.
Is that presumptuous? Why don't you tell us the reason why?
The reason why is Iowa and Michigan State. With the big upsets they had on Ohio State and Penn State, they knocked the Big Ten out. Ohio State was the Big Ten's best chance to get into the playoff, and having them go down, that puts, they dropped to 13, so they dropped 7 spots. Penn State was the next best shot, and they dropped 7 spots behind Ohio State to 14 because Michigan State won it. And now you have Michigan State in the driver's seat of the Big Ten East if they beat Ohio State this weekend. So if they beat Ohio State this weekend, they're at 12, right ahead of Ohio State. I'll say they move up to 9 or 8.
Sure.
Like they'll probably bump down Auburn. So I'll move them to 9. Maybe I don't know where Washington's going to go, but
okay.
They moved up quite a bit. But I don't think the Big Ten has enough firepower now to get into the college football playoff with Georgia and Alabama there, Oklahoma right on the outside, TCU right on the outside, Miami's undefeated still. They still have to play Clemson likely in the title game. Notre Dame, if they win out, they're in. There's not enough room for the Big Ten. Washington's still hanging out there. There's not enough room for the Big Ten to get in this year. They don't have enough firepower.
They do.
What?
Wisconsin. An undefeated Wisconsin is in the playoffs.
Look at their schedule.
I don't care.
Their schedule has Michigan at home. If you want to call that a big game.
It's
Otherwise,
not. But undefeated gets you in the college football playoff. It's just that simple. There will not
Tell
be
that to Western Michigan last year.
Power 5. An undefeated Power 5 team will get you in the playoffs.
I'm not convinced, Nate.
You aren't convinced? Here, I'm going to...
Okay, if everybody else wins and stays true, so let's say you normally say that no 2 teams from the same conference can get in.
Yes.
So let's say Georgia and Alabama, one of them loses. Let's say Georgia, just because it's natural that Alabama is in the playoffs every year.
Yes.
So we have Bama. If Notre Dame wins out, they're in.
Yes.
If, let's say Clemson, Miami, let's say Clemson wins, they stay in the top 4, they're in.
Sure.
Then you have Oklahoma and TCU right on the outside of the Big 12. They still have to play each other in the regular season, possibly in the Big 12 championship as well.
Okay.
So if Oklahoma wins straight through, then they're that 4th team.
Maybe.
You think an undefeated Wisconsin team who is 3 spots behind Oklahoma currently, would jump over Oklahoma from winning. If Oklahoma won out right now, their only loss was Iowa State, and they're sitting at number 5 right now.
Yes. An undefeated Wisconsin gets in the playoffs. I don't know what to say to you. An undefeated team a Power 5 team will make it in the playoffs. Miami's done. They're not gonna make the playoffs. They have too many tough games. Notre Dame is gonna lose a game. I'm sure of it.
Really?
Oklahoma could lose a game. Actually, let's not go. Okay. I'm sure they will lose a game. There are 9 teams left in the playoff consideration. It's Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oklahoma, TCU, Miami, Wisconsin, and Washington. Those are the 9 teams that could make the playoffs.
You're saying that an Auburn team who still has to play number 1 Georgia and number 2 Alabama in the regular season and then play number 1 Georgia again, if Auburn didn't win all 3 of those games plus their non-conference whatever, like D2 team, Auburn wouldn't get in.
They'd have an argument, but no, because they're not going to win all those 3 games. I don't think they are.
Well, this is speculation, Nate.
Okay, I guess. But speculation's almost only so far. I could say every team's going to lose 3 games and UCF's going to make the playoffs.
Oh,
but
I wish.
I wish too. But the fact of the matter is that I just genuinely believe the fact that a zero-loss team is going to make the playoffs. Florida State 2 years ago, they weren't very good, in my opinion. TCU and Baylor, or 3 years ago, I suppose. TCU and Baylor were both better than them. but they still made it in because they won all their games.
See, I think that's the initial playoff year, though.
Yeah.
The committees looked at different factors now. They understand that other factors play a role, and strength of schedule is one of them. And if Wisconsin's going to the Big Ten championship, they're going to win the West. They would face either a Michigan State or Ohio State. The highest ranking either of those two teams could be at, unless other people up top, unless a lot of people up top lose, the highest that I think Michigan State or Ohio State could be at would be 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And that puts Wisconsin at like 6 or 7. So you think that Wisconsin beating a 2-loss Michigan or 2-loss Ohio State pushes them over the top of Oklahoma or Miami if they beat Clemson? Or
do I think Wisconsin's a better team than Oklahoma or Clemson? No, I actually don't.
Okay.
But I think that I'm just of the strong moral opinion that if you're undefeated, you should go to the playoffs.
So we have the issue from a couple years ago where Michigan State, apart from the Nebraska loss,
yeah,
they went to the Big Ten. They went to the playoff.
Yeah.
Over Ohio State, even though Ohio State was the better team.
Yeah.
They did beat Ohio State, but that was because Tim Beck doesn't know how to use Ezekiel Elliott.
Again, don't play Michigan State in a rainstorm.
That too. Yep. So
yes.
I guess they had the head-to-head in that one, but I'm just not convinced, Nate. I don't know. We had a lot of ways to go. What about Washington? Does Washington get back in with a Pac-12 championship over USC?
8-team playoff. This is why we need it. Does Washington get back in the game? I can't see them doing it.
I think they need help.
They need help. I think they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And it's them, and then Washington is especially on the outside looking in.
And I think Wisconsin's one of those teams too. They need somebody extra to lose.
I just can't fathom an undefeated team needing help. It's like, what do you want them to do?
Schedule tougher teams.
That's impossible.
No, that's not impossible. These schedules come out years in advance. Nebraska already has their 2022, 2023 schedules ready and stuff. Wisconsin knew this schedule was coming up.
What was their non-con conference schedule again?
Wisconsin. Wisconsin's non-conference schedule: Utah State and Florida Atlantic at home, at BYU.
They don't know that BYU is going to be bad this year.
Okay, but still, decent. BYU's never that amazing. They're a good team. They've been good in the past, but they're not a top 10 team.
No. But Alabama never plays top 10 teams.
Okay, at the time Florida State was ranked in the top 10.
Alabama has a worse schedule than Wisconsin.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I don't think Bama's schedule is worth even mentioning, honestly. They are a team that consistently does this.
But they get the benefit of the doubt because they've been in the title game for 3 years straight.
Yes. So they can kind of do what they want. I mean, they have Mercer in a couple weeks. So
I'm not convinced that an undefeated team is going to get left out. And like I said, I think Miami's going to lose a few games. One of the Big 12 teams, either TCU or Oklahoma, is going to knock one or the other out. Yeah. I think if TCU wins, I think Wisconsin's getting in over TCU.
But not Oklahoma.
Maybe. I think Oklahoma has a claim to get in over TCU. Oklahoma has a claim to get in over Wisconsin by virtue of I think Oklahoma's a pretty dang good team. But
Miami's got Notre Dame at home, though. I mean, that's definitely the biggest game this week.
That's a knockout game.
Oh, yeah. Winner of that is...
Well, I mean, if Miami loses, they got to play Clemson with another knockout game. But
yeah, I think that's a knockout game for I think that's a knockout game for Notre Dame.
Yes, Notre Dame has to win that game.
Yeah, if they want to be in the playoff, obviously they have to win out. But this is one they especially need to win because they don't have another chance.
No,
they would have Navy and Stanford remaining, and Stanford lost to Washington State, who came out of nowhere. I mean, Luke Falk woke up after getting benched last week, but. No, I mean, yeah, so Notre Dame, they easily, again, if Notre Dame wins out, they're fine.
Yeah.
But they don't have the chance like Miami does. I think Miami would still have a chance, even with the Notre Dame loss, especially if it's a close game this week.
Yeah.
I mean, losing to the number 3 team, you're the number 7 team, they're not going to fall out of the top 10. And that puts them in prime position. If they knock off Clemson in the ACC championship, Miami would jump into the playoff over an undefeated Wisconsin.
We will see. It's that confusing stretch of the playoffs where there's still wild speculation, but it's starting to come together. After this weekend, we'll have a
much better idea. If you want confusing, though, you go look at the Big 12. I was trying to explain this to our friends Bailey and Christine the other night after all the chaos on Saturday with all the upsets. And so we have, if you look at the Big 12 conference, Oklahoma and TCU, who still have yet to play, they play, they play this week, actually. They play this Saturday. So they're at 5-1 apiece in the conference. West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State are all at 4-2. And Oklahoma State and Iowa State still have to play each other. Oklahoma State beat West Virginia beat Iowa State, and Iowa State beat Oklahoma and TCU. That's going to be a mess trying to decide who goes to the conference championship with all those head-to-head wins and losses.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty absurd task for the playoff committee to find. But I think the season usually...
It'll be tough just for the Big 12 to figure out their conference championship in general. Like, I'm not even talking playoff right now, just to figure out who they want in this new Big 12.
Yeah.
You can't do a conference championship with 10 teams. I'm sorry.
But the playoffs and the conferences will shake themselves out. One team is going to lose a goofy game, whether that's Notre Dame at Stanford, whether that's one of the playoff teams at somewhere else. If maybe Washington just flubs the Apple Cup, it makes it a lot easier for us as the national media. But
we don't want that, though. We want chaos. I want the most insane possibilities.
If Nebraska's
ever.
Bad, we want chaos.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's my go-to. And that means we need a lot of chaos just to counter all our bad.
All are bad. It'll be nice. Well, Alex, I think we're going to end our show here. Like I said, I hate to end it a few minutes early, but I have somewhere to be for class and schooling reasons.
Well, I do have an international economics test tomorrow at noon, so I should probably go start studying for that.
Yeah, I need to go see that speaker for some extra credit points.
Oh, yours is extra credit? Come on now.
What?
Sounds like a real class.
I need those points.
All right, Nate.
They're too obvious not to miss. They're too easy to get to not miss, and they're like serious extra credit points too.
Fair enough. Do you have any fun facts to end our week with college football?
One of the Ball family members got arrested.
I did see that.
Roy Halladay died from the Phillies.
Yeah, that was sad.
The rest in peace, Roy Halladay.
But
other than that, nothing much of note. Go Charge, go!
There is one note. Nate did lose in fantasy football this week
to the worst team in the league. All my players are on bye. We're gonna get back on the winning track.
Excuses.
All right. Well, next week I will not be on the second string. I have work that night. There's a women's basketball game, so I will not be doing it. So Alex,
I get the chair.
Yes, Alex will get the chair, and he will be bringing a sub who will not be as interesting as I am, but
making that statement right now.
Yes, but will be fun all the same. So tune in next week. We're here 7 to 8 every Tuesday.
Thanks for listening to the second string on KRNU2, and go Big Red. Please get us a victory this weekend.
Please, please, please. Have a good one, guys.